to stand together of a promise made.
Both scenarios are real, and in both cases, the Soviets never knew that the American subs were even there. The sub in either scenario could have been the USS Honolulu out of Pearl Harbor. The Navy will never say. Tonight, we begin a series of stories about the nuclear attack sub that bears this city's name.
This 7,000-ton football field-long hunk of nuclear machinery is quiet as a church mouse. Whales and waves and the natural things of the ocean make more noise to the enemy sonar than it does.
Sounding is 2,000 fathoms. Checks will chart. Quest mission is to submerge the ship. Submerge the ship.
Die.
Bending forward.
Bending forward, aye.
Bending out.
Bending aft, aye.
Decks awash.
Decks are awash, aye. Full dive on the fair water planes.
Full dive, aye. Scope's under.
Scope's under, aye.
Lower number 2 scope.
Lower number 2 scope, aye. Officer, aye. Officer deck, we have a satisfactory 1/3 trim, 150 feet.
Have contact. It's a fishing vessel. Stand by for observation on the fishing vessel. Designate this surface craft Victor 1.
Or the sighting could be more significant, a Russian electronic eavesdropping ship, in this case the Vega, watching us as we watch it. But right now the crew of USS Honolulu has channel fever. The sub is returned from a 6-month deployment to subbase Pearl Harbor, a machine bringing back tapes of its encounters with the Russian Victor-class subs in the Western Pacific.
We're going to tell you a little bit about the machine, but my main purpose for going aboard USS Honolulu is to tell you about the men who run the machine. Submariners say, with some justification, that when a sailor earns the Dolphin's pin, he's just a cut above his counterpart in the surface Navy.
So in the next stories, we're going to talk with the men who live aboard the sub, see where they sleep and eat, find out what keeps them in the silent service, and why each man must know this boat inside out.
We're in a contained atmosphere. We're in a can. And if they don't know that.
Certain disadvantages. Fire and flooding would be much more devastating than on a surface ship. So the emergency training is very tough, and those who cannot handle it are expelled. So that's why the grandest day for each sailor on USS Honolulu is when he earns his Dolphin's pin. This is the second in a series of reports on that nuclear attack sub. Honolulu was christened in 1983 and commissioned 2 years later. It's the third Navy ship to bear our capital city's name. Number 1 was a cargo transport. 2 was a light cruiser that earned 8 battle stars in World War II and was hit at Pearl Harbor. It's home right now from sea deployment, secret assignments the crew cannot talk about, and that's part of the mystique that keeps them re-enlisting.
I guess the mystique's what keeps us in it. People don't know what you do. It's kind of fun not to let them know.
There are between 120 and 130 men on board at any time, and as an old-timer told me, the guy who thinks he can keep a secret about himself on a sub is nuts. Work is what sub life's all about. Work 6 hours and then study.
When we go to sea, we do an awful lot of pretty exciting things. And so we keep their focus of attention not so much on home, but on the job. And so therefore, people don't brood about what's going on at home.
Nuclear attack subs are supposed to stay invisible. That means no outgoing messages, only occasional mail in port. Obviously, a wife can give birth while her husband is incommunicado undersea.
And luckily, she had good friends here, some of the other wives that were on the ship. They supported her a lot when she had the baby. And about a month later, I eventually went back for a few days and saw that everything was okay, and then came back to the ship and finished our deployment.
They are frequently left in a news vacuum.
For instance, this last 6 months we were deployed. We spent a large percentage, over 4 months of it, underwater. And a lot of things happened in the world during that period of time. The entire Oliver North episode took place, and we knew almost nothing about what was going on.
But in a crisis like the World Series,
Well, we actually came to periscope depth on the 7th game in the last couple innings to make sure we copied the Armed Forces radio broadcast of the World Series. And we got the last 3 innings, and we broadcast inning by inning over the speaker system we have on the ship so that the crew actually got to feel like they were there.
More on the sub, whose motto is always on the alert. Maka'ala Mau, in my next report.
Salaries that are really not commensurate with the sacrifice that they're making, either the sacrifice that they themselves are making or the sacrifice that their families are making.
Which prowls the Pacific out of its Pearl Harbor home port.
It's almost a cliche story by now, the wives who wait. But wives of nuke boat sailors wait in extraordinary silence because their men are underwater and silent so much of the time away.
Well, she's adjusted very well. She supports me in this area, and she runs things while I'm gone. And pretty much while I'm here, too.
Aside from that, it's really not a bad life aboard. Cramped, yes.
And this is where the guys got to stow all their stuff for a 6-month deployment. So all the clothes they're going to bring with them go in here, and we have a few hanging lockers that they can use for putting in their uniforms, like their blues.
But they try to keep an exceptional menu going in the galley.
Toasted or grilled? You want one? Toasted. Go. Or grilled, either one.
They don't care how many times you go through the chow line, but don't even think about drugs.
In the submarine service, you only get one chance for drugs. We have to, Navy has a Navy urinalysis program. If you come up positive, you're out of submarines. That's it. There's no second chance.
No booze either, as the chief says you can't do your job here and be snockered, and this submarine is on the front line.
Officer deck, all vents indicate open.
Well done, officer. Bending forward.
Aye.
Bending out.
Aye.
So here's to the kids and the wives who wait, and the men of Honolulu who were headed back out to sea the last time we saw them. Thanks for having us aboard.